Greetings, traveler. You've just crash landed on the Mikey and Me podcast. But fear not, for this is no mistake, no glitch in the matrix, no fault in the stars. No, I'm afraid this has all been planned, predetermined by, well, we know who. We know who determined it. So pull up a chair and join us, for you're among friends. Welcome. How are you today, Matthew?
I'm doing well, Mr. Mikey, Mr. President.
Well, now let's get something straight. Mikey
apologize.
stepped away for a moment.
He did.
Which
he did, and I can tell. You're very comfortable, Mr. President, which is awesome.
Yes, I'm very good. This is a Christian Dior robe. It's very old. One of my ex-wives got it for me long ago.
Yeah.
Long ago she got it for me.
She didn't get that in the divorce.
Yes, no, she didn't. She didn't. And had she kept getting me nice things like this, she wouldn't have been gone so long now.
And then he met Melania.
Melania. So what a gal. What a gal. She's such a lady. Wow.
Mr. President,
Yes.
we don't
Well, there's
going to
be a lot of changes now that I'm here. There's going to be a lot of changes going on, and you'll be seeing those changes. Good night.
All right. Where's it? Mikey?
Hey. Yeah. Well,
Hey,
I'm
you won't
back.
believe
I'm
who was
back.
just in here, dude.
Who? Joe? Did Joe Rogan stop by?
Joe, he did walk by. He was out of view of camera, but no, the current recently elected leader of our nation, I guess,
DJT?
DJT. He was just on the mic. He did the intro. He was in
Trump
the
was
bathroom, but he just said. He asked me what I was doing here, and I'm like, I was waiting on Mikey, and
I
he's
had to go
like,
to the bathroom. I must have drank.
he's
maybe
like, we
about
can't.
15.
He's like, the podcast can't wait. The podcast can't wait. I don't know. That's
You
it.
sounded just like
But
it.
I don't know. He possessed me briefly.
You sounded just like him, man. That was incredible.
So he took over, man, but it's good to have you back, and it's good to
I'm
see
back,
you comfortable.
and I'm glad. I'm sad that I missed the president's. He came and He's a busy man.
He didn't
Really
sleep.
busy man. Some say the busiest, but yep. It's our way of acknowledging that the election happened, and Donald Trump is the president. And again, it'll be another 4 years of really nothing changing in any of our lives. In a sense,
Yeah, I mean, it's all,
it'll,
that's
yes
depends
and
on how
no.
you look at things. Yes,
At the end of the
yes
day,
and no.
we're still going to be nothing.
You're gonna go to sleep and wake
insidious.
up, and nothing that they did is gonna
Yeah,
cause that to change. There might, who knows what's going on in your life, but you
yeah.
should
Maybe
be able
I'm
to hopefully-
hoping. I'm hoping. Maybe prices, eggs and stuff go down.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see.
We get some cheaper stuff like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll see how it affects. Actually affects my life, But it is what it is, and we live in the world we live in, right?
Yep.
Kind of like we're talking about outside. Oh, running by. I did turn 40 last week. It doesn't matter. I'm going to sing this recap. And we had a good gathering. I was able to successfully execute getting a pretty wide variety of wonderful friends I've made throughout my life to show up here, and that. And I don't care about turning 40. It was just, okay, here's something that a lot of people will think, the milestone type thing. So it's almost like, okay, this is a big flare that I think I can attract a lot of, hopefully, people I don't see as much anymore. Because as we get older, we talked about people, it just takes effort as you become an adult and have families and everything. Either way, so it was a great party.
It was a fantastic party, and it was. I'll have to say for those that did not attend, because some of you never met us before, so how good have you attended?
Yeah, been weird.
But it was cool. Matt actually had a really cool theme where he was like, you know what, I'm going to do a stand-up comedy thing. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I've known about this stand-up comedy bit that he was going to do for a long enough time to where
But
I
like
could
an
have
open mic
prepared
setting, not
something.
just me wanting
Yes,
to do
open
stand
mic.
up.
Yes,
more
to where
like
anybody
everyone,
anybody could come up. Come on. And I've known about this, and still prepared nothing.
And I went out of my way.
And-
Everyone I invited, I made an invitation that was clearly just to give the opportunity. have no expectations. I just wanted people. I know
there was no pressure on anybody. Nobody felt
Yeah.
any pressure, but you just you put it out there that this would be happening in the event
It's
that
like an
you would like to do it,
experiment.
and you would but you for again you were among friends,
Right.
So fear not.
You are
And-
among friends. It was
and
an
just
interesting
and let
experiment.
loose, let your freak flag fly.
Freak
Freak flag, freak
flag
freak
fry.
freak flag fly.
fry.
Okay, we can get in trouble. Keep that.
Yeah, be
We're gonna
careful.
mess up.
Alliterations are dangerous.
We're gonna mess up.
Alliterations will get you.
Uh,
It is interesting you bring that up because for me it was like an experiment. It's like, okay, because it's kind of like you talk to people and it's like, oh, we should do a podcast. They sit there and it's like, but how many people are actually going to do it? They'll talk about it. It's like, oh, we could do it. It's like, how many times, I don't know, throughout my life, if you're just talking about stand up and not somebody says that they could do it, but you could tell, like, okay, I think they'd be interested. They sound like if it weren't a daunting task to get up on open mic and do it. What if there were an environment that was the safest place, like a group of friends, and you had the
Yeah.
opportunity to try it out? You could just do 1, 2, 3 jokes, nothing.
Yeah.
You could do whatever you want.
I did like one joke.
Yeah, and I don't hold
Maybe,
against anyone. It's just an experiment, which is interesting, just to see, even creating the most ideal, comfortable environment for people to get up there and say or do nothing at all. It was a lot less than I was hoping. Not hoping, but if I were to estimate, I would have thought more people would have
like 5 or so.
would have bitten.
Yeah.
I thought more people
And
would have
said, "Yeah,
taken
let me do
advantage
that."
of the opportunity. But I guess we're getting older, and it's not. It's just, again, it's like an experiment. I don't hold
Yeah.
again. It's not like there was a right or wrong way to have done it. I'm just okay, because I knew funny people that didn't. Again, it's just actually doing it, even
Yeah.
just being on a stage in front, which is fine. It's just interesting. It's observational, because I did a bit. I literally wrote it years ago, but I saved it on a Google sheet, and I was just reading it. And then I know you did a couple things. Billy told 3 jokes. Which is
Billy's
great.
jokes was
And-
Barrett's story was probably
Again,
one of the
Barrett
best.
was like, yeah, he just went up there and
That
told
was
the
probably
story.
the best.
He just went up there and told the
The
story.
most embarrassing day of his life.
But you know what he told me afterwards was cool? He's like, no, it was really cool because that happened to me and no one knows about it. That's the first time he's ever told anyone about it, because he was in Korea. He's only American. He didn't go off his way to.
No,
Maybe
yeah.
he might have told
He
a parent.
saw the opportunity and he took it, and that's what's
It's beautiful.
At the end of the day, if all that came from it was that, that's pretty cool. And I
It's just
I noticed
interesting.
from it, because people have always, like, I've heard when I was young, people were, they're always, hey, you're funny, you should do like stand up, and I've always been, oh fuck no, I don't think
Just
there's
do
no way, like,
impersonations, right?
there's no
No.
way I could really do that, I don't think. And then it was funny to be in that spot last night or the other night where you were, you had that set up, and I got up there and talked for just a second. It was funny because I was like, I don't know what to say, and then
It's
I
a
just
whole
said something
different-
though.
It's
I
crazy,
you know
crazy, right?
but
It's
it
a whole
was
different vibes.
but
Like,
I
get it.
knew that nobody was. But again, I was.
I was I ate something that really was. I ate some weird stuff. It was strippy stuff. I ordered some pizza and they put mushrooms on it. Now they had me. It's a little loopy, but hey, we pulled through. We still showed up and we said some words, and it was a packed place. I looked back to this place and I said, wow. You could barely, just people everywhere. They were smiling. So much happiness in the room for Matthew. And I said, wow, this is amazing. And just don't get this very much. This is a very small thing. And but it was very big. It was small but big at the same time. It was very small, but it was large, if you know what I mean. Of course you know what I mean.
I think I catch your drift, Mr. President.
But
Oh,
no,
then
it
Mikey.
was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was awesome, man.
So it was interesting.
It was cool to just for what you did, and
And
the
again, that
karaoke
didn't
got
even matter.
people going. That's a hit. The karaoke's a hit.
Yeah. No, and I just want to thank everyone that came.
Yeah.
Like, get into the whole my experiment is, yeah, that was just something I did just to take advantage of the situation and make it interesting. But I'm just thankful for everyone who came out. And yeah, the karaoke.
I was gonna
I
say
could get
what
into
I
bigger
noticed
that.
is that at the end of the day, the people that didn't necessarily, the people that didn't do the stand up, which is totally cool. There was almost. I mean, it was insane how many people
find
got
the
up
right
there
outlet.
and sang.
Karaoke
Like
is
people
such
were
an
up there
outlet for
like
people.
singing and vibing. Like
Yeah.
there was so many people. Like
There's
Steph was up
magic
there
in
singing a
karaoke.
couple of songs.
My wife,
a couple
yeah.
of three. You
I
know,
was
the
surprised.
girls
She got
sang
into
songs
it.
together.
It was beautiful.
B. Jones sang.
He does, yeah.
Karaoke's
Karaoke's a magical
Alicia
thing.
might have sang.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
like that. They're
they all
around
sang.
it, so they're kind of. They've had friends that
Yeah.
do
Nah,
karaoke
it's cool,
parties,
man.
and there's some karaoke.
At the end,
it really brings something out. It's like,
Well,
I'm gonna do that more often.
Think about it. To me, that's got to be good for you on some level.
Yeah.
What level? Like, how
It's
good
obvious.
is that?
For me, that's
like,
obvious.
No, but I mean, it is obvious. But on like, think of how. My point is that yes is good
I'm
for
sorry,
you, but think
yeah.
of how good for you it is. How underrated something like that is. How yes, it's a speaker, a microphone. And
YouTube. We just
yeah.
looked up stuff on YouTube. Didn't
and
have
you
to
can
get
find
anything
that's
special.
it.
It's YouTube
And
karaoke
people
version.
were having a blast, and
It's
like what that
medicinal.
does. Like I don't know, man. The one thing I noticed about all these times we've gotten together and stuff like that, and seen people that we hadn't seen in a while. That every time they're like, we need to, we got to do this more. We got to get together more. We need to. And it's almost
so
like the podcast.
what I'm learning as an adult is like if I went, there's simple. I mean, it's like complicating something simple. Have simple tools to make the experience that much more enjoyable. It's like getting people together. You can talk, have a good time, but so much it's like, oh, if we just get together and talk, that gets so, like having. For my wife, seeing her do karaoke, there's a lot of people that are stuck in their head and they don't have an outlet. But if you're with friend, like it was beautiful to see her up there doing it and having fun.
Yeah.
I had no idea she'd do that, and I just know for her mental and emotional health, I know not being stuck. Everyone's in their own head, but actually getting out, and it was just a safe place with friends and having fun, singing a song, getting into it. Forcing you to live in the moment and enjoying a moment you're living in. It's forcing you to live in the moment, and hopefully, if you're not doing it against your will, you're enjoying it. So all those mechanisms come into play to where it's like it is totally good for you, and it's totally good for your brain and your emotional health, and so it's like karaoke and it's so easy to do at your house. To set up, you don't even have to have. If you just literally turn on YouTube on your TV, looked it up, and you could just literally start singing with it and just take turns, right? If you don't have anything, you could still have the same effect. And then we had the old Xbox. We had a simple game. Board games work too, but the easier it is, in the visual aspect makes it even easier. But yeah, there's like, okay, if I have this on, people are gonna have fun and still engage. It's just it was cool.
No, it was an amazing time, and I'm so glad I got to see Barrett. I hadn't seen him in so long. Getting to also see Billy anytime I get to see Billy is awesome.
Yeah, man. I'm so thankful.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so you know what, I
quit
am
living in
looking
the
forward
past.
to.
I'm getting tired of
I'm
it.
looking forward to New Year's though, because you have it set up to where we could do a really cool New Year's party. I think
you're
could
right.
do a great New Year's party. If
You're
people
right.
enjoyed that, they've just we've still got them.
I'm not moving
now's
my
the time
amp
to
and stuff.
strike.
I'm
You know what I
literally leaving
mean?
that set up there.
Now's the time to strike. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because
No, I
it's
agree.
like,
I agree.
people that's still fresh in their mind
The
what that
energy,
felt
the,
like.
The fires, the
You know
little
what I
flame
mean?
is still trickling. Yeah, the emotional, the residue of the experience is still lingering within them.
We didn't start the fire.
Mikey, you just
It was
planted
always
a
burning,
powerful
the
seed.
world's been turning.
Yeah.
Hey, you feel that?
No, totally.
You feel?
New Year's karaoke, friend?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't have my daughter, but I would leave. Yeah.
Let her sing, dude.
Yeah, no,
I
she's a
walked
little
in the
over
house
one.
and she was waving and talking. Hi.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Put her on the stage.
One of the smartest little girls I've ever met.
Test it. Test you, honey. No, I'm
Test
joking.
it.
I love you, baby.
But all right, so we've had some catch up.
let's quit
Trump's
living in the
president.
past.
We talked about your birthday. Before we move past the weekend, Jeff.
The musical artist.
Jeff,
Yes, 'cause he was here this weekend, wasn't he?
we actually big disappointment, big letdown. We did not get to and it was also
Not really.
It was hard. The time management. You can only do. There was a trifecta of people. So he had his Colorado boys. Shout out AJ. Congratulations. You've just recently got married. Shout out to that young man. Him and his lovely, beautiful wife, Keisha. They're doing a big old road trip around, which is awesome.
That's so cool.
Fortunately enough, they were able to plan it out in advance that we knew they were going to be coming through, and so Jeff and Paul, also came through, and so, it was I think we did a fantastic. I think we did a fantastic. I think we did a fantastic job of managing time and doing the necessary things.
Yes.
We didn't get to record, but it was. I think it was. I can't tell you how cool it was just riding around with those two guys. And also, being able to have, Jeff come over here and hang out and cut loose with us.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So now it's
the first time seen him in person.
Yeah.
Since I've become more friends with him. So it was cool because I met him before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, here's a friend of Mikey's. Cool. And it was literally maybe a few minutes I saw him because I was coming and going from colors pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, seeing him in person, had an amazing big hug. It was that was a great hug.
He texted me. He said that you were like top 5 hug of all time. I said that's awesome.
It was a good hug. So yeah, it was really great. It was great.
But
that was important that we got that. Logistics of things. Getting.
Oh yeah, there's more time. So, yeah. Again, it was gonna say he came. It was we did it all. We did it all. We accomplished everything. We got to spend time with everybody. And we maximized existence for the time we had.
Yeah.
And now Jeff will. Hopefully soon enough we'll be back.
He's still alive.
I think he needs to plan a first of the year trip. I know New Year's probably would be hard, but first of the year trip would be cool.
It would be cool. I know his family dynamics can control that thing, but we'll talk to him.
But
we'll figure that out.
But yeah, I think a first of the year trip would be cool where he could just come down and we could have a weekend of just maybe recording 2 things or 3 things sometime.
Yeah.
A couple of different episodes of stuff.
Definitely.
With that being said, we will be pausing on the best TV dad fights.
Yes.
For now, because Jeff isn't here. Not that necessarily, who knows how many people are hanging on our every word, but we hope that you are. But we'll be addressing that.
Will continue.
Hopefully, yes. So
it's like, oh man, I was waiting.
I know. Apologize if we let you down. We really do. We really do.
Check in next week.
Matt knows how hard I take it when I let people down, and
he cries. I mean, look at this guy. He's dejected. But we got to quit living in the past, Mikey.
Oh yeah.
That was a great week.
Would you like to? So who should start this off? Should you get the topic first, or me, or what? How should we start?
Yeah, it really
we've addressed the elephants in the room.
Let's see. So yeah, I guess I can go.
Go ahead. You start with a topic, and then I'll fire back. So
it's a moral, psychological thought experiment of sorts. The trolley problem. The trolley problem. So for me, it's something I've heard of and kind of familiar with. But what it does is it presents an interesting kind of moral dilemma of sorts.
Is it relatable to other problems?
No, it's not. The trolley problem is a series of thought experiments used in ethics and psychology to explore moral decision-making, particularly in situations where causing harm seems unavoidable. So the classic problem presents a scenario where a runaway trolley is about to kill 5 people on its track. But you, as an observer, have the ability to divert the trolley onto a sidetrack. And so normally they'd say there's a lever that you're just an observer, and there's a lever that's right by you, and you know that if you pull the lever, that you can divert the trolley from one track to another. So that ability that I could divert the trolley to a sidetrack, and so the one track that it's already on has 5 people on it that it's gonna hit, or you could divert it to this other track, and there's 1 person on there. And so it kind of just presents a dilemma of It forces you to confront the choice between inaction, doing nothing, leading to a greater number of deaths in this experiment where there's 5 people on the track, or intervening where it still requires death but only one person to die. And so it brings up ideas of utilitarianism, right, versus deontological ethics, which is interesting. Utilitarianism, the approach argues that you want to choose the option that maximizes the life and well-being overall. And the other one, that deontological, which I just learned that word, and that's not recently, focuses on moral duties and rules. So suggesting that deliberately causing harm, even to save others, is inherently wrong. So like in our own personal sphere, it's almost like, oh, so I'd still be I could sit there and be an observer and do nothing, and I watched 5 people die, but that's how it's supposed to be. I have the only thing that I could do is pull the lever, and it's gonna save those lives, only kill one life, and just that dilemma of even being the observer in that situation. Mm-hmm. So it puts you in a situation where you're aware something bad is going to happen, and you have the ability to act, but no matter what, there's going to be some negative outcome. And there's all kind of variations that they'll do of the Trolley Problem, where people make them up of there's permanent kinds of, we could say it's one old lady or 5 babies, or you just mix up whatever it is to where you're forced to sit there and think of the value of one life over the other. Mm-hmm. And if, if it's 5 old people on the track and then the other is 1 baby, it would be like, well, I think a lot of people could kill those old people who are on the way out. There's a whole new life there that it forces you to have these thoughts. It forces this talking about and thinking about it. That is the point. It's like a cone, right? It forces, it's like a Zen cone, yeah. Koan. It forces you to think about these things. Koan, yeah. Koan. We looked at, yeah. It forces you to think about these moral dilemmas in these sorts of scenarios. So, and it really comes into play whenever they talk about AI and like driverless cars, right? Mm-hmm. So that's actually where it becomes relevant as far as fully autonomous vehicles. So if an autonomous vehicle, because they have to be programmed, or else at this point AI, but if AI is doing it, okay, if it's in a similar situation where, oh crap, it's driving, it sees there's a person on the road, and it knows it can swerve, and it might like hit a dog, or it might hit 2 people on the sidewalk. I see. So you have to think, but as a human, what do we do? So it's not like we can sit there and think there's the best way to program it, but the whole concept of it is very present in actual, like, people are going to see autonomous vehicles driving around and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so okay, couple of things.
No, yeah.
To kind of
you go now.
I'm going to go on the things that I'm going to forget first, so if I haven't already forgotten it, which I think I have. You were saying right there at the end.
Yeah. So, I mean, towards the end, I was just relating it to just modern day, the world we live in now.
Funny stuff. Okay. You said the driverless car thing.
Yeah.
I got stuck with Caleb and our buddy Crane when we went to Austin like 2 weekends ago.
Wait, you did it?
No, we got stuck behind one pulling into Austin.
It's
right
one
as
of the pilot
we took,
cities.
We sat through all of this it took us like 4.5 hours almost to get to Austin. Because it took us like so long to get out of Dallas. By the time we got to Austin, it's like we're so ready to get there. I noticed on the map that the main road 35 was just jammed up. And because that was the weekend that Trump was there.
Yeah.
Trump was there that weekend, and he was doing the Joe Rogan podcast. He was doing a rally and the Joe Rogan podcast. So then we had to like take this little cut around tollway to get there, and then we get into downtown, and we're real close. We're so close to our hotel, and we turn this corner, and we're just stuck, and we're like, why are we sitting here? Why is nobody moving?
Yeah.
So I told Caleb, I'm like, do you want me to get out of the car and like go see what's going on? He's like, yeah, go ahead. So I get out and I go up, and they had this box truck bobtail on the side of the road, and to the right that the box truck was next to was a building, and they were pulling pallets out of the building, and there was this guy standing there, and I'm walking up, and I'm like, what, like, I'm like, y'all loading freight? Is that why we're waiting? Like, I was like, how long is this going to take? And he was like, I was like, is this y'all like loading freight? And he was like, oh no, man. He was like, they got one of these, these like robot cars. He was like, it's glitching the fuck out. And I'm like, what? And I walk around and I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, yeah, it's not us. And so I end up looking, and one of those like Waymo cars was like stuck, glitched the fuck out, and it couldn't like back up. It was, So
it's funny. Austin is one of the few I think there's maybe a city or two in California where they're actually deploying and testing them. And this is not Tesla. Waymo is Google's. They're already preemptively showing you trying to get in the game to compete with what Tesla's going to have with cyber taxis. So it's funny that they're already deploying and testing their stuff like that, but that's not Tesla's, because it's just interesting, So that shows the landscape. Google's already like, okay, we're already testing this stuff because we know
how many years of like data Tesla's do they have of mapping and.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's great. It's interesting because Google has a lot of information, but they don't have as much actual camera driving. It's interesting.
Okay,
so you just get to see it. Yeah.
Next thing.
Yeah. Don't let me get distracted.
On the other question of this,
the trolley problem.
This almost makes me think. Okay, number one, we're looking. It makes you look at it just. Is there room to look at it any differently than just A and B, black and white?
No, that's the problem.
Okay,
I mean,
there's no.
But there's some people are.
So I know that people's going to die.
There's going to be loss of life no matter what.
Here's my thing that I'm trying to. It's like It's like. Most people, I feel like you would think, okay, kill the one, let the one person go and save the five.
What would you actually? Let's enter. What would you do, regardless?
Personally, depending on if it was literally like you have this long to do it, it's like I guess I'd pull the lever and make it.
Say if you have 10 minutes and you know this is happening and you have.
I'd try and derail. I'd pull the lever to kill the one and try and derail the train.
Yeah.
Because you could potentially, depending on where you're at, if it's not just like a simulation and it's just 5 people on this track, one on this, and pull the lever.
They use the
5
trolley
die,
as a way to
one,
make the scenario, but you could just be like, there's a button you push that says 5 people die, 1 person dies.
Yes.
That it comes down to that.
Yeah.
That it creates a scenario.
I'm saying if it's like if it is a real world scenario, I would do the best I could because it's possible to derail a train. So it's like I would attempt to try and derail the train. While at the same time trying to save the most people I could. If I knew I could save 5, I would. But here's the thing, though. With the one, with anything, when somebody passes, how many people are affected by it. And then it brings into the whole talk and the thing of, like, for instance, like, I'll use a movie reference like Looper. The guy, whenever Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is Bruce Willis, saw what happens when this kid dies, he saw the world that becomes when this kid died, or this kid's mom died. Whenever the kid's mom died, he saw the world it became. So that's the whole thing where it's like, on the one hand, the 5 is that saving the 5 seems like the clear choice. But then on the other hand, it's like you're not just, it's just, it's a whole thing because, again, you think that the 5 would be,
It's forcing you to think about these things.
Personally, I'd never make that deal. I'd say, look, this is a bad deal. We're going to get this train out of here.
So that's fascinating, but it is cool, right? So it gets down to moral psychology. And so even just looking into trying to gain insights from the thought experiment, just looking at brain regions that are involved in moral decision making, because it's empirical research shows that, or would suggest that there's different regions involved in the brain when people contemplate personal or moral dilemmas, just like we're talking about. And so it's just fascinating because it's activating very unique as you can imagine, parts of the brain. Kind of, we were talking about earlier, just thinking about different brain regions, but then brings into like factors influencing moral judgments. Because there's research that shows a variety of factors can influence people's responses, such as stress, emotional state. So basically, depending on your state, if you came in here in a certain mood, you might have given a different answer.
Mm-hmm.
If you came in here, you had the best day of your life, you might give one answer. So it forces all these thoughts and these states of thinking in just your brain for research purposes. And the more and again, at the end of the day, it's interesting. And I don't know, for me, I think because it would be impossible, because you can make it way more complicated, especially if you do it to where it's, like 5 old people who are like 90 years old and then a baby. Basically, and forget the trolley, it comes down to what do you pick, who do you pick to live or die? Like, inaction results in, say, the 5 old people dying and the baby living, which is, okay, I'm led to thinking if I could separate emotion, I don't want to be an observer, but I'm forced to be an observer. I'm forced to be aware of this, that I would just let it play out how it was going to happen naturally.
Yeah.
And then people not obviously, but can clearly think and try and apply this on a religious, philosophical level to when they talk about God and bad things happening in the world. It's like, why does God let these things? Why do these things happen? Thinking, and it's not like I have my own answer to that question that makes sense, but that's a difficult thing. So it kind of connects to that whole line of thinking where people think about, if there is a God and these things occurring. But again, in God, you could just like, I'm gonna save all of them. That could be their approach, or it's almost in my mind, it's just I would choose logically to just let it play out how it played out.
I think it's almost a bigger way of like showing how people put guilt on themselves for situations they had no control over, really, or that weren't a fault of theirs or their own. Because let's think of even how we were saying it. Like, I was saying I'd pull the lever to kill the one person. Well, it wouldn't be me killing them.
Exactly.
It's not my fault. I didn't do anything. Like, so I get like, I think that's funny too, where your mind goes when you think of it, because it's like something you're not even considering. You feel responsible for it. Yeah, even though it's not something that had anything to do with you. It's something that was totally beyond your control. It was something that was happening, but we feel, that I should have, or I could have, or why didn't I, or
because we know that we had the ability to
do something.
Right, and like I said, there's going to be loss of life either way, and they basically always make it to where option A, it makes you compare value of life in different scenarios. And being forced to choose, people are gonna die regardless.
Yeah.
And like I said, like if you think of autonomous vehicle, if there's a group of kids that it has to swerve to miss that are walking across the street, but then there's a lady and her baby in a carriage on the sidewalk, what's the driver of this car gonna do?
Yeah.
And again, what would a human do? Right, so we apply that for me. I feel like, I feel like we apply these questions to AI and think, oh, it's a problem. Like autonomous, it can't figure this out. But it's like, wait, what would a human do? So the dilemma exists regardless of if there's a human making the final decision or not. And if anything, having no human make that decision makes it easier. Not actually being behind the wheel, and it's a terrible thing, but the choice being out of your hands,
well, it's not, because somebody made the choice to take humans out of it. So it's on somebody, and it's on the overall human society at that point.
Yeah,
if you've all agreed to let it happen. I know. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the basis of the Trolley problem, and it brings up, like I said, it's with people talk about driverless cars, and just the more AI gets integrated into things, if AI is forced into a situation so where say it sees something bad happening and it has the ability to intervene in these sorts of questions and expectations that might be society might just by default levy upon AI or anything else non-human that okay, why didn't it do something? Or it's the same day you should be asking that of your fellow man if they see something happening. Why didn't you do something?
I have a question. This is not because I have a whole subject or another topic we'll go to.
Yeah.
But what if, and not to stay on this side topic too long.
No, these talk.
But what if? Look at these little pugs. Look at the pugs.
It's beautiful.
You see them? See how she's
I
laying
presented
on?
the thought experiment, and that's really all it is.
So
what's your mind doing?
What if AI, right, gets to the point where you ask it, say, how should, it gets to the point where it's so advanced and super intelligent that it can reason beyond all, level of, human reasoning and better than human reasoning, optimized thinking, whatever you want to fucking call it.
Okay.
What if it ends up telling and coming back to humans whenever you ask it these questions of like, quote, advancing society, whatever? What if it's, tells us that more or less we shouldn't keep advancing the way we are, or that we shouldn't, that because at the end of the day, we always think of it, you look at everything that you can argue that almost every advancement we made has been better than, what the advancements we made are better than what were there prior. Like, for instance, electricity and the candle.
The whole point, the motivating factor behind even progressing is to be better than this current state. All right. So everything was the current state. So everything is trying to be a better state.
But again, correct. But where does this, my question is, in a sense, is what I think that the fault in our thinking, or is that our concept of what we think is better. Our concept of where does that even fucking come from? Where does our concept of what we think is better come from? Because we think that at the end of the day, you think that all of these advancements are what should be necessary, right? And what should be, it's what we should be doing. But it's like, should we really? Because at the end of the day, if you can, this is kind of somewhat, I guess, Alan Watts inspired. If you can, we get to the point where travel is just, you totally eliminate A and B and every place is the same place. And you can just, I can hop into a thing and I'm all of a sudden I'm over here.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, is that really the advancement that, because then that cuts out all, is that what humans are meant to do? Or are we meant to just be some machine? Or are we meant to be some like, that's the thing, I think it's important to,
No, I agree, because there was, and I can look up who it was, but it was a bright, intellectual, person in the whole realm of AI, talking about like, well, what they thought about it.
On our door? Yeah,
it's unlocked.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I got a random gift for my sister-in-law. No, yeah, it's a random, yeah.
No, it's cool. We'll
Welcome,
split it.
sister-in-law. Yeah, thank you.
No, you're cool. I'm
Thank
just
you,
fucking
Sarah.
with you.
Thank you so much.
That's very thoughtful. Very thoughtful.
She's amazing. She's what made karaoke kick off.
That was, she did kick the karaoke off.
No, yeah, she did.
But either way, go ahead.
No, yeah. So what I was saying was that I guess they were asked about AI, and the advice is just like, we should slow the F down on how quickly we're creating it and how quickly we're deploying it and how quickly we're just doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
Which the dilemma is we can't slow down because of foreign actors that we can't risk that are doing this.
That's funny. That's the thing that's funny
what's
too.
Driving
Is
us all that we can't.
I know, but here's the thing.
Society
This is
forced into this.
I know.
Situation.
What's funny is it's the quote of the more things change, the more they stay the same. And Alan Watts, again, this is something I heard him say in one of his talks, where he was saying that, it's like, what good is it if to defeat? What good is it if to defeat the Nazis and the evil, SS police or whatever, we have to form our own Nazi SS police? What good is it then? So what good is it if,
it comes down, do we let them kill us, or do we kill
That's
them?
what I'm saying, though, is that it's like, how do we combat this whole... Hang on, though. Time out. This is what I'm trying to say, is that we're always looking at it again, like the experiment you just brought up. It's A and B with this or that, right? And it's like, I feel like,
There's another way, and I agree.
There's definitely another way, and it's like...
In the effed up thing about it all is, I think the other way is going to end up being AI.
I think the other way... So, but here's my thing, though.
I think that regardless of what the best thing is, I'm just saying I believe that's what's going to play out. To where AI is going to
but here's my thing about AI.
Change the dynamics of international relations and all that.
Here's one of my things about AI is that I think that you're already seeing a longing for things that we grew up with from other generations. They're bringing back Pizza Huts and stuff like that, the dine-in buffet stuff. They're bringing back stuff like that.
They're satisfying what consumers want.
It's like kids, think about kids that have grown up on playing these games and stuff like that. Eventually, even we get burned out on games, right? And you get the pug. The pug is literally like, she's trying to rip the. She's trying to like rip the. She wants to play with the cord. Oh, she's trying to like rip the cord. That's awesome. She wants to play. But either way, what was I saying?
You're just talking about.
I lost it. I can just lose it just like that.
Well, what you're saying is talking about just they are recreating.
And so people are going to want
nostalgic things.
Well, not just nostalgic. We look at it. Yes, that's the word you're picking, and that's the way most people would see it. So that I'm glad you said that. Yeah, and you're right. But it's like the nostalgic thing is that like it's the easiest way to describe it. But it's like there's a reason. Yes, it's nostalgic, but it was also real. It was also very.
Yeah.
A lot of those things were,
But for me, like,
so
that's
I think
going to die out with the generation that's willing to pay for the experience.
But again, so you advance it so far to the point to where eventually they'll pay for the experience to be human again, or to feel human again. Is my point. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. Is that it's like even if you advance, that's my kind of my axe to grind with it in a way. Is that I feel like, or not axe to grind, but I think that could be one of the unthought of players in the whole AI thing, is that eventually people are just tired of it, and people, tired of it in some sense, and they don't want,
we don't have a choice.
Sometimes I want to get lost. No, I know, but I'm saying sometimes I want to get lost. I don't want to know the most efficient route of doing something. Sometimes I want to like go, I want to take the long way or take a different way.
You want to try and figure it out on your own. You don't want to rely on something. You gotta have any motivating factor, but yeah, it kind of gets to the old idea of losing knowledge, losing even the desire to get lost or that sort of thing. But I'm saying whether you're for it or against it, it's however things will play out. Who knows? I just think it's almost like, well, we don't even have a choice. Yeah. The average man, we're just gonna be
the average man. That's the thing,
we
though.
Really don't have a. It's just more for me. It's speculating on what it's going to be like.
Yeah, it's like almost so. Do we not have a choice though, or is it not sort of like our own trolley? Are we not in our own trolley experiment?
So, well, how would you
potentially?
What would your evidence of agency be that you have a choice? And what are you choosing? So if you're against it and whatever, but so how would you like? What's the choice that you would make?
It's not that I'm against it, but I just I'd long for different things, and I at this point in my life, I've grown up around I've watched enough TV, I've played enough video games. I'll still play video games. I get enjoyment from them, but I've done all of these things to the point where I'm somewhat burnt out where I enjoy just fishing. I enjoy camping. I enjoy going for walks, and
those won't
outside.
Go away.
No, I know it's not that they'll go away, but I'm saying that it's like with everything, we're going to continuously our advancement does not stop, and that's kind of my thing. Is that it's like people need to really question what's a human supposed to be, or what are we supposed to do? Just simply, continue to quote advance? Because think of other decisions you've made in your life where it's like the grass is greener on the other side. You go do something you think is going to be better, and then it's like, well, fuck, this isn't quite what I thought it would be.
Yeah. And then, it's interesting times we live in. That's all I can think is interesting times, and just seeing how different people on the personal level are just forced to experience whatever power and wave of it becoming integrated, and just like the internet. Think of the way I grew up whenever I was really young, before the internet, and before that even being something people had in people's houses. And now it's the thought of not having the internet is like, whoa, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That's gonna be AI, for like this could be, and we're, like I said, these consumer ideas and things that we're bringing back pizza or bringing back these things, and they'll do that, and whatever the market dictates, we can manufacture that. We can manufacture that emotion for you, and if you pay for it, that's fine, and then that's going to evolve over time. And
See, I think that's presuming, though, that it's going to take that total route of dystopia in a sense.
Well, I'm not presuming dystopia in what I'm saying at all.
I don't know. It kind of sounded like in that moment it almost seemed like you were presuming that that people will pay for that. Well, we can replicate that for you, so people will pay for it, and then they will replicate that. So that to me is like you're assuming that everybody's going to do that, which is what I'm saying is that you're already seeing that shift of people going back and doing shit and things coming back in style. And I know that there's fads and things that come back in style, but I just think that that's an unpredicted player, is that, yes, there's all this advancement, but what if you get to the point where it's just like, what?
I think everything you're saying is statistically, and something that they can probably is predictable. Human behavior, the desire for something that you grew up with and an experience that they'll get to a certain age, and this person and this demographic is willing to pay for it, and so I think it is all very predictable.
Maybe. I mean, I think that
we're more predictable and less interesting.
So that's what I'm saying. Okay, then no, it's not that.
That's
why I'm saying that it's like people need to reconsider the path we're taking, because if you are, we're very predictable. Then it's like, then this predictability, where is it leading us to? It's like
the inevitable.
Yeah,
it's just funny. It's like the inevitable is we're ending up regardless of predictability or not.
Yeah,
it's a fun conversation.
So either way, there's our AI talk, and it's coming for you.
Yeah. Just
it's
living
coming
life
for you and everybody.
So let's take a quick break, and then we'll get back to something completely different, as Monty Python would say.
And we're back. And that was our intro and AI talk. Hope you enjoyed it.
Whatever talk, man. I hate that stuff.
AI?
You shouldn't let me talk about it so much.
You love
I need to escape it.
You love it.
I need to escape it, though. AI. Like, if I live in that world in my head all the time, you need to kick me out of it whenever we're a little together. No, I'm joking. That's where human interaction does that naturally. So what do you got, Mikey? You got some things.
I got some things, and some of the things on my mind is I had seen stuff. I don't know how many of them were recent or if there's any stuff like that going on, but crop circles. Number one, crop circles. They happen all the time.
Crop circle?
They've happened for a long time. They made a whole movie on it, pretty much, with signs. In a way.
Is that Joaquin Phoenix?
Yes, that is him.
In Shamalama Ding Dong?
I think that's the guy who co-starred in it. Yeah. That was the guy who got mad at a certain
But yeah, they made that because these things are real.
And so it's interesting because somebody I saw in a video brought up a good point that even if they are, if this is a man-made thing, right, crop circles, if some of them are man-made, then why isn't it getting more attention than it does? As say, like, for instance, how Banksy or somebody like that gets noticed for putting up a stencil and spray painting something. Why isn't it that these types of things get, more attention than they do? Because a lot of them, when you look at them, are like woven together and stuff like that. It's not
And the way you look at the way the grass is cut
down.
too, right? Yeah,
Well, it's not
really
that it's
weird?
cut. They push it down. They walk it down, or they weave it. So that's the thing, is that like,
What
it's
do we have
not-
that could do that? Right?
It's not just what do we have.
If I'm dispelling, like I
you would
can't
have
think of anything
to
that could
do
do
it
that.
by hand, and that's the thing.
That's
and so
crazy.
they pop up overnight. Is kind of the thing. It's like,
And they're
unless
so
somebody
perfectly
came up with
designed.
some genius contraption that can do like a 4-foot area at one time, that can weave a 4-foot area. But
Wait, so I
if
never
you can
knew
zoom
that.
in on some of them, they almost look woven. They're like
So it's not the grass
laid
isn't
over.
cut.
No,
ever.
it's like laid down.
I'm actually
not
just learning
cut.
that.
Yeah, it's not cut. It's like laid down.
Oh.
So it's not
Okay.
that. So what you're seeing is just grass. The
Okay.
same way, the same way whenever you look at a baseball field, almost how
Yeah.
while they are cutting the grass on a baseball field, but they're also rolling it.
Yeah.
So there's a roller on the mower that pushes, in all baseball grass is like bent grass, like fescue.
You can't smoke that, right?
No, you can't. And
Fescue will not do you well.
and so
Fescue up.
it will.
Sorry.
They will. They end up. They're bent grasses, and so they have the ability to where it's like when you hit them with a mower with a roller on it, they'll lay down one way. So that's why you can get the effect of at a baseball field of having the stripes and the lines in it, is because it's blades of grass going opposite ways.
Okay.
So the stripes that you see in grass is blades of grass on one stripe are facing one direction, and blades of grass on the other stripe are facing the other direction.
That's cool.
They're like that. So it depends on how you see it. It depends on your eye and where the
And the
light's
angle where
coming
you're sitting
from.
in the stands for
Or
the
where
baseball.
where the
Yeah.
light's coming from too, because that's what I do on grass when I cut grass in front of people's houses. Like, you have to play on the angle you're going to cut the yard at. For instance, like when they're going to come home and see the yard, like you try to
There
do it
is
in
a
such a
action
way
like that's a deep artistry to that.
to where I do it in such a way to where it's like, I flip it every time I cut it. Number one.
What do you mean flip it?
Well, I flip the way I cut it. Like, I don't always cut the same direction. Instead of just always cutting right to left or north and south,
Yeah.
I'll do like north, south, east, west, and then I'll do on angles, which
Okay.
would be, 45-degree angle from right to left and a 45 from left to right across the yard. And then after I've done, it's like I do the X like one week. One week I do north, east and like kind of the
Yeah.
diagonal across the yard. The next week I'd come do the other diagonal across it, and then the week after I go up and down, and then the week after that I go right to
subtle
left.
artist. Like I said, it's a lawn artist.
So
It's,
then
it's
once
more
you're
than
done-
just cutting grass. It's
So
like
when you keep doing it, like, it gives it like kind of a checkerboard look. But either way, that's what's happening. And so with these crop circles, they're not cut; they're laid down. And so I just thought they were interesting because it's like, number one, we don't really talk about them because it's
No.
like, either way, if it's if it's a person, why aren't we talking about like who's doing this and like how are they doing it pretty much overnight? Is it multiple people? And not only that, but if it's not just multiple people, it's like, how is it that, okay, so it's not people, then shouldn't this be more news if it's not us or people doing it?
you would hope so. That's
Because that's the thing. A lot of the
speaks
stuff they're
to
finding is
society.
that like how concentric all of these things are. They're all perfect. Like, go back and look at that one photo you had pulled up. Like, that's perfect circles. Those are absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's
Everything. Like,
what do we
even
have
if
that could do? That's so.
They all like all of the little circles are almost like in perfect, relation
Yeah.
to the other circles across to them almost.
Yeah, it makes it like I guess concentric in the word is because
Mm-hmm.
I think that's within. But yeah, let's see. So it seems like a lot of places in the UK, as far as most recent ones, this one looks Badbury rings near Shapwick,
See,
Dorset.
Yeah, see that one you can see how it's laid down.
Yeah,
See
so
what I mean? The negative space.
this circle
like,
was
if you can-
first reported on July 19th of this year in a field of wheat close to Badbury Rings in Dorset. I guess that's somewhere in the UK or something. You need permission from the farmer to enter this field. As far as we're aware, no such public permission has been given. Location, history. Badbury Rings is a Bronze Age hill fort. I guess that more than 3,000 years old. One of many such hill forts dotted across the UK. It's one of the most attractive of these hill forts, with 3 of them rings around the central enclosure. About this crop circle. This crop circle was the first to appear in Dorset during 2024. It's a pretty 5-fold mandala with a Celtic feel to the design. So it's like nobody. Yeah, it's truly fascinating, and I find it incredibly interesting. But it's like if we can make a post on social media, and it's like I just don't. It's society's getting too dumb, or just not. I don't want to say dumb, but it's like they don't. I don't think they care. You know, I care.
Like this stuff's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just think they'd just be like, okay, interesting. You know, oh, P Diddy scandal. Oh, this. It's like this is fascinating to me. This is fascinating to a certain group of people, but I think it's the group. We're not into social media. We're not onto that stuff, and it's almost like, shoot, we should start a social media just for interesting stuff that doesn't allow anything that's on other social media. I don't know.
No,
just because there's other people out there that would find this fascinating, but they don't even know to look for it.
Yeah, no, and sometimes, it's like you get lucky and you find stuff like this. Like I found one guy kind of talking about crop circles on there, so that's why I figured I would bring this up. So every now and then you do kind of find people that are actually putting stuff out about it. But either way, I just find it interesting.
No, I find it interesting. So we got a video pulled up. You keep talking, but if you actually watching us, you can see.
It's just kind of interesting that, that these things are still happening. And regardless of, that's the thing is that, a lot of these people, if it is somebody pulling up and doing it, again, hats off to them. And they're doing it in such kind of like a perfect way, with some of them look more perfect than others.
Yeah, so I'm looking at one from, because it makes sense that we have drones and helicopters, so we're looking at footage of one from from Wiltshire from June 12th, to where it's like it's obvious this stuff can be viewed and documented. So if it's being captured when they're doing it. It's not. Of course, they don't have things flying around monitoring all the time, but it just this is nuts.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're watching or need to be watching this.
Look up real quick. Go to just to show confirmed something. Go to like whatever you want to go to search it.
Yeah, I mean,
and
so
look up
I looked at
artist walk. There's an artist that creates images in the snow, he creates crazy effects in the snow by walking them down. So that's what I'm saying. Like, look that up to show like what humans can do, like what one person could do.
Okay. Snow walking art. I don't know.
Yeah, something maybe.
Art circle. Let's see what that is.
I might be able to find the guy actually now that I say it.
No, here we go. Look, boom.
Yeah.
Snow walking. It's a large
artist.
Scale geometric patterns created by walking on fresh snow, transforming snowy landscapes into intricate designs. This form of land art combines physical endurance with artistic expression. So I'll click on. That's pretty beautiful. Okay, you know what? I'll ask it. How likely is it that humans could make crop circles?
Oh, it's extremely likely. I'll say that. It's
I guess
extremely
that,
likely,
but overnight.
But the thing is, I was going to say the question is how many people would you need, and how everybody arguably I feel like would have to be just as equally as talented, and you would need a lot of people. Because I couldn't be like, hey, y'all come out here and help me do a crop circle. Us efficiently be able to do it within, 6-7 hours.
Let me see. Your existing crop circles easily explained. I'm just gonna see what it says. Our existing crop circles, easily explained. Let's see what the fucking monster says. Majority of crop circles can be attributed to human activity. Some as hosts. Well, some crop circles, despite various theories, there's a lack of credible scientific evidence supporting these patterns and characteristics of them align with human techniques. Some existing crop circles are generally explainable through human activities with extensive documentation and admissions from creators substantiating the understanding. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess then it comes down to, okay, it's them happening overnight out of nowhere and then questioning that source on, okay, it came out of nowhere and overnight, but or maybe it wasn't overnight, or maybe it was, but maybe it was over. They did it over a day, but it was just reported to have happened suddenly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just going down the path of being critical. What's the source that even reported it to begin with, and they could potentially be gaining from we're keeping ourselves alive by being a part of this news story for this small city. I don't know. I'm just talking.
No, and I think that comes back to kind of one of the other things I had as a note, that seeing is believing.
Yeah.
And people will continuously almost always go with the most logical explanation that humans did it. It's us. There's nothing to see here. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Go back to work. What are you doing? Fucking weirdo. Like, just people did this. Nothing to see here, So
yeah, no,
that's the
I like it.
Dust your hands off, keep moving approach.
Yeah,
right there. People probably did it,
but it's still happening.
And either way, if people are doing it, it'd be it'd be cool to figure out how they do that and how they can create. How they can
to go ahead
the
and
pattern.
just actually, just show us the secret.
Right.
But then
I mean, it's like, why is it that they're
anymore.
making it? But that's the thing too. So if it is, Banksy, at least, like nobody's making any money off of any of this. Nobody's auctioning any of this. So that's the thing that's curious.
The only thing I
could
could think of making money would just be, I mean,
how
at
can
this
you
point,
make money if me and you go walk the fucking badass
the
crop
little
circle,
tiny bit of
money?
Like that guy on the hill, he has I can't think of motivation he has other than artistry or just uniqueness in people who don't need money and they're just doing it for if I were super rich, I could think of wanting to do something like that, but and or thinking of the government, or thinking of the angle of I believe UFOs and UAP, but at the same time, the government could easily take that narrative and run with it in other directions to having the crop circle narrative can be good for the masses. Oh, we'll keep these popping up here and there for whatever, the same logic of, Project Blue Book or just different things of.
Yeah, it could be misdirection.
Yeah.
Totally. It, but it gets, so either way.
Yeah, who knows?
If it is,
I think
if it is a totally unexpected.
It's beautiful. I don't care however it got there.
It's interesting, if it's explainable or unexplainable altogether completely.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Let's see. Do you have something, or I have other stuff I can move on to? I don't want to skip you though.
No, I've always got things, but we can.
I would say, yeah.
No, we can go to
either bands that have been banned from SNL or 3D printed houses. Whatever you think.
Both those are fascinating, right?
Because 3D printed houses are on the rise, like in Austin. And that could potentially solve somewhat of a housing crisis, just because, they're able to kind of produce them so quickly, and they're all made with pretty much concrete.
Well, then let's talk about that. So what do you, or Mikey, you have a fucking book in your hand right now.
I do have a book in my hand. We can.
I'm curious to know about that.
Yeah,
I'm curious to know why Mikey's got a book in his hand and what this book is about. Because I think you mentioned it before, Actually, I know you mentioned it before,
I
and
did mention this book prior
so
in a prior episode because we were talking about a story.
I'm curious
And,
what. So yeah,
The book's called
elucidate.
Haunted Valley, and I had heard about this book. I can't remember what it was I was watching or listening to, but it definitely had something to do with the Mothman.
Who I'm cool with Mothman now. Me and him have made peace.
Number one,
and
I love
I'm cool with him.
the cover art. It says, so I'll go from the top down. Haunted Valley, and there's this like cool old haunted house with these two little ghosts.
Yeah. So what's the
And
print? Is there a date like on when that was printed?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh, gotcha.
We're working our way in. We're going outside.
Yeah, that's why you don't. It's the first date. You
So,
don't just try and get right in
exactly. You don't
the.
say, "Hey, pull your skirt up." So we'll get in here, and its first printing was 1979.
Dang.
I'll zoom in here. So first printing 1979, 1983, 1984, 90, 92, and 94. So this book would be from 94. And here in the preface, it's just filled with all these different folklore stories, right? Of Appalachia, Appalachian
Appalachia.
folklore.
Help me. What's that word mean?
It's
It's
the
a part of the
forest.
country.
Yeah, like in let's see, it's like technically what is it? Tennessee, West Virginia, isn't that all? There's like
I know the Appalachian Mountains,
forests, mountains,
right?
all that.
Yeah.
So what I had initially brought this up because we had talked about Mothman, and I said something about Cornstalk and his son Redhawk, and we couldn't find anything about that through AI when you searched.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking that
you couldn't find anything.
I was surprised.
In AI
The
that
internet,
referenced.
AI, nothing. We couldn't find anything hardly.
Yeah, and I just said AI because AI is
I got you.
the superior search engine that finds everything. And
Yeah,
you couldn't find it. Yeah, so I had talked about this in a prior episode, and you couldn't find anything on the internet anywhere about this book, really, or I mean, not just about the book, but about the
Cornstalk, the event.
Yeah, the whole thing. So either way, Birdman in this book, it says right here, Birdman and Cornstalk's curse.
Okay.
And so right here in the beginning, it kind of talks about. It kind of starts talking about what was going on there at the time. I think the year was, let's see, it says.
Did you make this connection, or did you find how did you make the connection to Mothman?
I was watching something that directed me towards this.
Okay.
I was watching something about Mothman or listening to something about Mothman, and I ended up finding this book through that.
And you had to go somewhere and actually find this book.
Well, I ended up finding it online.
But still, it's physically in your hands is the only reason why that's cool.
Yeah,
that's not, I'm trying to say I think it's very cool. You substantiated something you saw, and we're like, okay, hold on, this book exists. I'm gonna get this book, and now the book is sitting here in our hands. And we're looking at it, and like, okay,
Yeah, and so it says right here, I'll kind of skip ahead. So Cornstalk was a chief, and it was it was in 1777. It says right up here on early. One day early in November 1777, Captain Matthew Arbuckle, commander of Fort Randolph, was surprised to see the arrival of Chief Cornstalk and the Shawnee warrior by the name of Redhawk, who was his son. It says he explained to Captain Arbuckle that most of the Indian tribes to the north and west were joining up with the British, and that his own people, the Shawnee, were determined to do likewise. All except his wife and himself. In light of the situation that was developing, he felt it was his duty to give the settlers fair warning. Beyond that, he could do nothing, and because of the overwhelming voice of his people, he would have to quote, to run with the stream. Okay. So he was pretty much being put in a position, and he was trying to at least give his allies fair warning that I'm sorry, but this is what my people want, and I have to kind of do what they want. there's nothing I can do about this situation.
And he was being a peaceful messenger, just trying to be the
and give him fair warning as best he could. Like he knew that he couldn't, give the men what he wanted, and it was just a situation. The least he could do was give them fair warning that, like, hey,
these
shit's
people
about to hit
this.
the fan.
My
people and everybody else want to side with these people because they feel like it's the big battalion and they're gonna win. So, but either way, it says right here at this point we're gonna cut straight to the meat of it because I think this phone's like camera's getting low or something. Tilt this up a little bit. But yeah, either way, it says right here, shaking with great fear, Cornstalk looked at his. So by this point, Cornstalk and his son, Redhawk, and another son, goes by the name of Ellipsco.
Okay, Elenipsko.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, it says right here.
I just know that because I didn't look it up with you a minute ago.
It says shaking with great fear, Cornstalk looked at his quaking son and admonished him to be afraid. The great spirit above had sent him there to die with his father when the men approached the door. Cornstalk arose and proudly walked toward them while a half-dozen bullets rained into his body. Nearby, Elilipsko was shot while sitting on a stool, and Redhawk was shot while attempting to go up the chimney. So while he was just sitting there, and they knew that like what was going to happen, like his son Redhawk was terrified.
Yeah.
And his dad was like, "Hey, dude, chill out, whatever." And he tried to go up the chimney and fucking died.
Dang, dude.
And so then at that point,
the white man did some cruel things to him.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, let's see. So here's the thing about how Mothman comes into play. I can see, look, that there's I'm trying to get to the part where they talk about his body. And what happened there, because that's kind of where the whole...
Yeah, the idea...
The curse comes in, because he cursed the land.
Yeah, because, we talk... I just know, and over time, I've actually come around to... The Mothman was presented to me initially because I knew that movie existed, and the whole idea is like, okay, yeah, there's that... I don't believe in that at all. But if the deeper I'm learning about it, and... Okay, just... thinking if you are open to... people are open to the ideas or believes in like spiritual or metaphysical presences or evils or things or curses and which that there's ties that can make the idea of Mothman believable for me, and just that the package of the way presented there's a lot more to it than just that Mothman Prophecies movie, in actual lore and in history behind it. And if I'm and I am a believer in like the spiritual and things like that, to where I can see how this is credible as far as something that could exist.
So right here it was said that he gave a speech. I guess that it was as he was dying or before or whatever. I think it was like as he was dying. It says something. It says, it says an apocryphal speech.
Crunk speech? We're doing our best with the East Indians words. We're
it says
we are trying. Just know the white man is trying.
Speech of Chief Cornstalk, which was said to have had to have been made at the time of the murder. Says, quote, "I was a friend of the borderman. Many a time I have saved him and his people from harm. I come to your house as a friend, and you murdered me. For this may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this spot. May its people be paralyzed by the stain of my blood." And then it says, according to some reports, the curse was to last for 100 years. Unlike many other river towns similarly situated, Point Pleasant did not prosper during its first 100 years. Plagued by floods, fires, and other misfortune, it developed very slowly. Henry Clay, the great American statesman who often passed through Point Pleasant on his travels between Washington and his home in Kentucky, described the place in 1832 as being, quote, like a beautiful woman clad in rags.
What?
Says like a beautiful woman clad in rags.
That's a time where that meant more sense, probably.
Yeah, it says others wrote that it did not flourish because for many years
I get it.
It had no church.
A beautiful, so she's very pretty, but she's wearing something ugly. So it's like there's something beautiful
she's like,
underneath there, but she's got she's wearing a very pretty
like a
poor
burlap
girl.
sack.
Yeah, a diamond in the rough.
So either way, it's like, let's see. Hang on a second. I gotta move this phone. This fucking robe's getting hot. My swag, dude. My drip swag.
Yeah, dude. It's
This Christian Dior robe's not breathable.
hey, you suffer for fashion. They say that for a reason, Mikey.
Yeah, but I'm about to pass out for fashion.
The hat too, that traps heat.
Out. Oh, it's true.
Yeah, no.
Look at this plug.
Yeah, no. What the head,
Beautiful
neck,
little
it's where
bunch.
most of the body heat gets released.
Head and neck. Oh, look at all the body heat released in here, dude.
I know, dude.
The body heat's releasing.
I don't have
Oh,
I don't
no,
have
here
my
comes
body
more
heat cam
heat.
up, but you could see some crazy stuff right there.
Let's see right here.
Luckily, I'm
Hang
tuned
on,
into
hang on,
that
hang
right
on,
now.
hang on. They talked about moving the body. And I wanna
Don't
get
touch
to
the body.
moving of
You
the
don't touch
body.
human remains.
You shouldn't. You should really just leave them the fuck alone. The Tibetan method.
The throat singers,
What you know about the Tibetan method?
they can do two notes at the same time, which is basically impossible outside of the method they've come up with of actually creating the sound of two notes simultaneously out of one person. So yeah, I know it's nuts. Them throat singers, man.
I think you missed my.
I don't hear Lady
Twin
Gaga
Peaks.
do that.
Did you miss my Twin Peaks reference? The Tibetan method?
I did.
See?
You see, but
You see?
if
You're a
David
good
Lynch
kid,
was
you're
here,
real
he'd have a
good.
coffee, a cigarette, and he'd tell me, "It's okay, boy. You went down a path that I'm okay with."
Okay, here we go. There was other stuff that came before it, but here's the meat and potatoes, pretty much. It says cornstalks bones, which have been moved at least 4 times.
Cornstalks Bones. That's the cool name of a band right there.
Cornstalks bones.
Which have been moved at least 4 times. He was first buried just outside the walls of Fort Randolph. The latest disturbance of his grave came in 1955. When the chief's remains were moved from a burial plot near the center of town to a new site into Indiwi State Park. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know if I said that right. On the banks of the Ohio River at the site of the Battle of Point Pleasant. The reason for the removal was to make room for the building of a new courthouse, which was heavily damaged in in the Sisk Suicide Pact explosion? Look that up. SISK Suicide Pact explosion?
Yeah. What the?
It was
goodness
damaged.
gracious?
So the courthouse that they built, they moved his bones to build a courthouse, and the courthouse was damaged in the SISK Suicide Pact explosion. It says at the very end here, right here, it says, there are those who hope that Cornstalk is in his final resting place and can rest in peace, and that the people of this beautiful place can enjoy the prosperity that it rightfully is theirs. So that's the thing, is that he did have a son. He had 2 other sons. One of them was named Redhawk, and people believe that Redhawk is Mothman. Because people, when they said they have seen Mothman, he has red eyes. Other people have said that his wings are almost like a deep red or something. And so, and what are the odds? The reason that I think that that gives Mothman validity just on that grounds of ancient, of the Indian thing, the Indian, fucking curse, because I believe in that shit.
I know, I do too. That's,
like Amityville Horror, that was on an Indian burial ground.
I believe in curses and
or negative
realm.
energy, the people that have been done wrong and cut down in their prime and murdered wrongfully, like
Right,
that
that's
energy can
interesting.
hang around.
So
What's this?
No, I was able to, and not just ChatGPT, but I tried Perplexity, which is was like the main like Google closest thing, but our
What'd
good
it
old
find?
friend Google was able so it's 1976 Mason County jail bombing. So 1976. It was a suicide bombing that took place at Mason County Courthouse at Point Pleasant, West Virginia. 5 people, including 2 perpetrators and 3 law enforcement officers, were killed in the attack, and a further 11 people were injured. The bombing was perpetrated by a 19-year-old Bruce Sisk, who detonated a suitcase filled with dynamite in his wife's jail cell after forcing his way in using a sawed-off shotgun. 18-year-old Harriet Sisk had been held in the jail, which was in the basement of the courthouse, awaiting trial after confessing to strangling her 2-month-old child to death. She had entered a suicide pact with her husband prior to the bombing. So I guess they're saying this terrible event happened to coincide with the same proximity location of where basically the
so
curse.
they moved. That's where his body was. They moved his body from where they built the courthouse, and that courthouse is where the Sisk suicide pact took place.
Wow.
And that was the former burial spot, grounds of where Cornstalk was buried. Now, I want to say it actually said. I know I told you to look it up, but I think it actually says something in here.
Here, you
about
see
that.
something funny? So I tried
No, it
the
doesn't.
ChatGPT search, and I just put Sisk suicide pact explosion. I'm sorry to hear about your concerns. If you're someone you know is experiencing thoughts of self-harm, it's a good mechanism. I did Perplexity one, which is a search engine. I apologize, I don't have any relatable information about suicide pact or explosion involve someone named Sisk. So that's just fascinating to me. But okay, then it's able to find stuff. Yeah, it's funny. So
It is
here
funny.
we
That's
go.
what I'm saying. It's
So,
an interesting little
A little further down I go. Okay, so Sisk suicide pact refers to check. Yeah, we just described that. Yeah. So I mean.
So either way,
this
this is I can't recommend this little book enough. If you're a book person, I'll go down right here through the table for anybody who might be interested in creepy, because I'll say at the end of the day, this stuff. What I've learned about it is it's not really that it's not creepy. It's that you realize how real it is, and it's almost just sad. It's not even really creepy. It's more sad, if anything, because you're realizing that a lot of the legend and lore of Appalachia and everything comes from just
here's the newspaper
shit
article.
that happened there back in the day of during the wars,
Yeah.
Civil War and stuff like that. People being killed, wrongfully and shit like that. So right here in this, and then I'll let you take over.
There?
Yeah, I'll let you take over real quick. It says after this, it's just Haunted Valley, and then it says Caliban and the Monster Twin, Ham in the Attic, Ghost, Birdman and the Curse of Cornstalk, Buried Treasure, Cigar Smoke, and Bloody Hollow, the Sycamore, in fact, and the Legend. So there's all kinds of great stories in here. So y'all should check it out. You can find, just the regular copies of this for I think, I don't know, $10, something like that, 14, 15 bucks.
That's more than I want.
So there
Mikey,
you go.
That's pretty awesome.
It's a cool book. You're not going to find that on Kindle.
Nope.
How do I turn this
So
off?
no, it's yeah. So
There you go.
no, but I'm sitting there kind of going a little bit down on Point Pleasant, because I'm a little curious now, just of the history. So I just looked up the dark history of it. Let's see, dark history of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Point Pleasant, West Virginia has a history marked by several dark and tragic events that have shaped reputation and folklore. So there's a Battle of Point Pleasant.
That was what was mentioned in there as well. That's what he was talking about.
Cornstalk's curse,
that
right
happened
here.
That right there, 1777.
Look at this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Perplexity was able. Okay, so I asked
That's
it
the
the
quote
right
in the
thing.
book.
Yeah, for this may the curse of the Great Spirit. So it's cool. So Perplexity, it's a good search engine.
You
to
should
at least
try.
get this.
Ask
right.
it about Haunted Valley the book at some point. See if it can find that. Or
Yeah.
there it is, right there. The Mothman legend,
Yeah,
1966.
yeah. So yeah, I worked my way down. I just
Sorry.
searched the dark history because I first let's put history of Point Pleasant because it mentioned it and it has everything. And I just put the word dark in front of it. So Silver Bridge disaster. So 1967, Silver Bridge connected Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, suddenly collapsed during rush hour traffic. I think that's what inspired the Mothman Bridge collapse. And then the Mothman legend. 1966, Point Pleasant became the epicenter of the Mothman legend. Residents reported sightings of large winged creatures with glowing red eyes, just like he said. Like we've talked about. It's the TNT area. Yeah, former West Virginia ordnance workers, known as TNT area, is an abandoned World War II munitions plant near Point Pleasant. It became associated with Mothman. It's interesting because I was reading that the jailhouse bombing, the dynamite that he had the suitcase stuffed with, was tied to some construction. So I bet it's linked to that.
That's a good thing. That's a good point.
Yeah. And economic struggles, like many small towns that faced hardships, but, everything you're saying was saying it's, it sounds like, at least as far as things around it flourished, at least in the initial state, a couple 100 years ago. Like he says, like a beautiful woman, like General said, dressed in rags. Like it was just that area. Like the curse was affecting just that area.
Yeah.
To where it stuck out.
No, I mean,
dark
it's really
tourism.
I was just about to say this next part to me is like, I honestly want to go there and I love it.
Dude, dark tourism, actually. Cause it's the ticket to make fun of Gordo talking about visiting places where things have happened. Like, is this Trail of Tears tour? Like, it's funny. Like, but no, dark tourism. Hold on, let's just, So dark tourism refers to traveling to places historically associated with death, tragedy, or disaster. This form of tourism has gained increasing attention in recent years, both academically and in pop culture. So dark tourism, there's Holocaust tourism, genocide tourism, battlefield tourism, disaster site tourism, prison and persecution site, grave tourism, and communism tourism. Well, yeah, it shouldn't laugh about suffering of people. Popular destinations. Okay, well, of course, Auschwitz is up there. Chernobyl, yeah. 9/11, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good on going to fucking
Hiroshima.
Chernobyl.
Yeah. Wait, so Cambodia, the 12 Slaying Genocide Museum.
Can I be honest with you?
No.
I don't want to go to any.
So you've been lying this whole time.
I don't want to go to any of those places.
You've been lying. Actually, I did some dark tourism because of my sister when I visited her when she was living in Germany. If I was there, maybe I'd go. Ossuaries are fascinating, but I got a bunch of pictures. But it's like nothing but they have bones. It is actually really cool. Set like all over the place. It's like a grave site, but like art, and also this ossuary in Germany. It's actually really cool. But I think it would probably fall into dark tourism.
But yeah, either way, I think that
dark.
I think that they have accepted the Mothman. You should look up the statue.
Mothman statue.
We'll
probably do that and do get towards what I got for the movie. Let's see, Mothman statue. Got it. Mothman persists.
Yeah, look down there at the bottom, right there. Look at that. The one next to it. That's a better one. Oh, that's a good one.
So, who made it?
I don't know. It's just there. It's in Point Pleasant, though. They've accepted the Mothman legend, and they have a statue made of him.
I mean, it's a statue that they can't get rid of for any number of reasons. You know, if the community could be like, no, it's part of history. But either way, like for a statue to be made that persists like that, it says something.
For such an obscure thing.
It says that there's something to it.
It was enough of a buzz.
There's something to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Where else is there a statue built of something weird like that?
You should really go look at a lot of the different... Here, we'll read what's on the... You want to read it? Go ahead.
On the statue's got a plaque that states "Legend of the Mothman." On a chilly fall night in November 1966, two young couples drove into the TNT area of north of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when they realized they were not alone. What they saw that night has evolved into one of the great mysteries of all time. Hence, the Mothman legacy began. It has grown into a phenomenon known all over the world by millions of curious people asking questions. What really happened? What did these people see? Has it been seen since? It still sparks the world's curiosity. The mystery behind Point Pleasant, West Virginia's Mothman sculpture. So we know who made it, but still, they recognize the weight and gravity and just power of whatever that experience, whatever's happened.
Because here's the thing about
volumes.
it. So here's the thing that some people should understand about it, and you as well. This is why I
refuse to understand.
I urge you.
I'm
to
slowly
go,
coming around. Don't you
no,
see
I know,
that?
I know you. I know you.
How does
are.
that
And
feel?
I was gonna. No, it feels great because you see, it feels great because you see that like. It feels great because you see that, like, you know, you see the kind of the intrigue behind it. Because what I was going to say is that, like, you should really you really should go look at some of the videos and like things they have on it, because it really does, like, it's more than just he's more than just a moth, man.
Yeah.
No, it's so
I know.
No, there's more.
I
It's
hear
more
you.
than just the bridge collapse.
Yeah.
And it's not that. What I mean by that isn't that. Oh yeah, just the stuff that took place back in 1860 or something.
Look how
like that.
menacing that is.
It's
the
like
fact that they let that be shows they wouldn't leave that there unless there was weight in like some kind of.
It's almost
validity,
undeniable. I
something.
feel like the way they look at it, in my opinion, is almost like, at this point, what else do you chalk it up to? It's undeniable. They know that this place has been such
they're
a.
probably afraid
This
something
place has
bad
been
might
such.
happen.
It's like this place has been such a shithole or whatever. It's been affected by such like unexplainable tragedy that what else is it? It's like, it's almost like one of those things of like, shit, and maybe it is a way of healing.
Crazy.
That's what I'm saying. I want to go there to see it. I want to see that statue.
Dude,
But
yeah,
I was gonna say
watching-
is that, like, the thing is about
Man,
this
look
is
at
what's crazy is that there was so many after the bridge sighting. There was so many other sightings of Mothman in Point Pleasant. That's why he holds the weight he does in Point Pleasant, and in that area, is because it wasn't just that one time of like, oh, we saw a big bat creature on a fucking bridge.
Wouldn't substantiate this.
No, people were like seeing
like
him.
This?
Yeah, people had like seen him, like they said, at the TNT plant. There was other stories of people having seen him. Like he's popped up different times. It's just wild, man. So yeah, there's the Mothman curse of Cornstalk. That's how the curse of Cornstalk and his son,
man.
Birdman.
There's the red eyes right there. We're looking at the image of the statue.
Redhawk.
It shows the red eyes are a very prominent aspect that need not be ignored.
Yeah. And it's interesting that again his son's name was Redhawk.
Yeah. No, that's the connects those two.
No, absolutely. And they said again, if you go, the more you dig into it, the more times you find that people explain that he had reddish, that Mothman or whatever had reddish feathers.
Yeah.
That whatever it was had, like, the feathers were red. The people that were able to see him, I guess, in enough light to actually be able to see his color rather than. Either way, it's fascinating.
No, it is very fascinating. See, whenever the movie did for me a disservice.
It did,
but
also
however you get there, right? It's
no, the
movie
movie did a disservice, but to me, it also like it. I
Is
like
there a
how
documentary about it. There has to be.
I can send you the documentaries
really
I've seen
good
on
one.
it. They're decent. It's hard to find really good ones on it. But there's decent ones. Potentially, we could. Yeah, we could probably do a good documentary.
Maybe that's where Mikey and Me comes in.
Maybe, but either way, there are some good ones out there. I can show them. I'd love to go to Point Pleasant. I think it'd be cool. It looks beautiful. Point Pleasant looks beautiful.
We're gonna have to do another deep dive into man-made monuments to unexplained, like how this would be categorized.
Yeah,
it was man-made,
yeah.
but
Due
we
to
made
lore, like a chupacabra statue.
Yeah, just like where are the man-made monuments that at least recognize some
From folklore
supernatural
or
but no, something unexplainable has occurred, and it's almost, I'm not saying appeasing it, but it's almost like, okay, Mothman, we recognize that you're evil and you're here, and I don't know if things still go bad there, or if maybe it's almost like Redhawk is at least
they said
find
he
peace
did say,
because at least this is a way of acknowledging what the travesty
he
we
did
did.
say that it cursed the land for 100
100
years. So maybe the curse is up.
Yeah.
Not only that, but maybe too, that's why people were saying it's like if Redhawk really was somebody who was wrongfully killed and he's on the bridge, maybe he is it's not that he's, that's why people theorize that he's not a dark, something to be afraid of, that he is a harbinger of, like, he's a harbinger. He's trying to warn people that, like, there's something bad coming, or that you need to pay attention,
they saw him,
or whatever.
He's probably theoretically
because
trying
again,
to say,
if
don't
he's
get on the bridge.
killed, if he was wrongfully killed,
yeah, because it could be we saw the Mothman and this happened, but it could be the Mothman was trying to keep them from going on the bridge, and then you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To where,
no, absolutely. That's what people theorize. I'll send you the documentaries I got. Now I have homework for the night.
Heck yeah. Well,
I need to take a wee-wee.
Yeah, wee-wee? Or
I need a wee-wee, and then we come back and do your thing.
Yeah, we'll come back and wrap it up.
And then, I was going to say.
Yeah.
I got to use the bathroom.
Well, PPs. Right. And we're back from a good releasing of discomfort. It's been great, Sir Michael. It's... we were recording on a different night because it was, like we talked about, there was a lot going on this weekend between partying. You had people coming to town, and Jeff would normally been here, and we love Jeff, and
it was just
we wish him the best. So we're gonna go and get to the end of it, and that last time we started movies to Mikey and me's movie. Every week we'll give you a movie to see before you die. Like, so basically a movie you should see, because we believe there's important value in it, and we're not gonna say much about it other than you should see it, and if you're interested, do some research. But this week's is a little movie that's very near and dear to my heart, and is very pivotal. As a child, I saw it, and it was a movie that came out well before I was born, but I was really into sci-fi, and I think it came out in the mid-'70s, but a little movie called Logan's Run.
Oh, yeah.
Logan's Run.
And how old were you when you saw this movie?
So this had to be in maybe middle school, and Chris was probably with me when I rented it, whenever we would walk up to the video store and rent. They'd had Tuesdays 2 for 99 cents. You could rent movies at Video Update, but they had a limit of like 12, but we'd rent the max for like, you'd keep them for a week. And no, literally probably rented like every science fiction movie.
That's awesome.
in on the shelves, and then extended. Yeah. And so Logan's Run was one of them. And you should watch it. They made a movie called The Island that came out in the I think mid to early aughts, maybe, with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson, which it wasn't a remake of Logan's Run, but I just remember seeing the trailer for it and immediately thinking, this is a lot like Logan's Run. It wasn't a remake, but there's a lot of similarities to it. Mm-hmm. And people, if you see a lot of movies in science fiction, you could be like, oh, wow, you can see an earlier version of the idea. But Logan's Run, it really opened my mind up to a lot of interesting sci-fi
potentialities, possibilities.
Yeah, kind of more heady sci-fi stuff at a young age. So there's that. That's the movie to see before you die. And
there you
go straight from there to recommendations of the week. I rarely say the full word. It might be the first time in a long time.
First time in a long time.
Mr. President, what's our recommendation?
Well, the recommendation is, number one, I recommend that you give yourself a pat on the back because you did the right thing and you made me the president. So you should pat yourself on the back for that.
No, I'm kidding. My recommendation of the week. I think everybody should do whatever they can to try and calm the static or turn off the static of life for a moment. If you can do it every day, awesome. But if you can at least do it once a week, just do it once. If you can accomplish it one time, because then you accomplish it once, and then from there on out, like you're going to be hooked in a sense. You're going to be like, oh, this is great. And you don't need to use it as like it's a tool. It's not something that you get hooked on. You know, I know I just said you get hooked on it, but it's not something that you should just rely on and use as a revolving door. It's like, use it to help you, whatever, gain that perspective, and then, you know, don't get too attached to it, but take that time to sit down, and whether it's, you know, chanting something, whatever, listening to a sound, a frequency, whatever.
528.
Yeah,
those
528
that's
frequency.
That's mine. There's other frequencies.
There's other. Well, what I've done before is like you can do the. There's the method of, you know, like the Tibetan bowls, which is the, you know, you hit the bowl and it rings, and so they have audio of that, and for me that's peaceful and calming, because I can just like kind of sit there and get lost just in the sound and let my mind go with the sound. That's why those things are important, or they're helpful, is just because your mind is going to wander and go on different things.
Target.
And so it gives you something to just, okay, I'm having this thought, oh, I need to get up, I need to do that, I need to do this.
That's the true
While
value.
at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I need to do all these things, but in those moments you have to remind yourself, listen to the sound.
Yeah.
Go back to the sound. Another method of doing it is chanting. Whatever, and that's the beautiful thing about it, is no matter what religion you are, there's some kind of chanting you can do to be able to, like, for instance, you can repeat hallelujah if you're a Christian.
Your own mantra. Like,
you can do, you know, Hare Krishna if you're Hindu.
Yeah.
You can do Allah if you're Muslim.
Like
Either
you
way.
Said, you described what it's doing is just giving your mind a simple target that's not complicated to follow, because it will wander. And I just give it this, and it can just kind of start to wander and just become a calm ocean of all the static going away. Yeah.
And it allows you, once that static, the reason it's cool is because once that static kind of dies down, you really give yourself time, and you give yourself the luxury you're not typically able to afford yourself, of being able to turn off the outside world static and really tune in to what you want and need and feel in life. And that's the thing that's important, is that we all are influenced by all kinds of stuff outside of us. You know, some people by a rat race of like, oh, I want to have better things than the next guy, or, you know, Carl at work's doing better than with me and he got a new car and I want to beat his, like, you know.
Or it could just be the race of survival. Like, I'm stressing about how am I going to pay this month's bills. And you need, as much as like that's a prescient and urgent thing, your body, mind, and soul need to not think about that all the time.
And your ability, that's the ironic thing about it, is that it's like almost like maybe your thing that you introduced me to, Zooksfane, is where it's like, you know, and it's kind of weird how you almost too, it's like Wu Wei, letting go. You know, it's Wu Wei is the art of non-interference. When you let go, you gain the control you want. And so by letting go of the situation, like you said, you know, it could just be the simple stress of these things. At the end of the day, the biggest benefit to you could be totally letting it go and calming and stilling your mind, and then all of a sudden you realize what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that absence of action and thought is what brought in this, gave way to this new thought or understanding and realization about yourself.
And that's your brain a lot of times literally do what it's doing underneath. Like when people, they talk about, you casually say, I'll sleep on it. And people don't realize, but actually, like your brain is, you're processing and thinking and doing things that you're not consciously thinking and intentionally doing. To where, like, when you let it be quiet, and you're talking about things will just come to mind, or it could be idea, or it could be nothing, and it could just literally be, no revelation happened, but your emotional and mental health they need to
Yes.
get away from the high stress environment that you've created that you live in probably.
And sorry to cut you off, but we're
No, yeah,
super
yeah.
adaptable as human beings, and I think that we always give ourselves like, it's like we give ourselves credit for being able to adapt to different situations and overcome and be so resourceful, but then also too, it's like we forget that while that may be a good quality, that we can adapt and overcome and be resourceful and like continuously work in such a chaotic environment, that might be good, but also at the end of the day, it's like that's not what
It's not
really is what is good for you on a physiological, psychological, and who knows whatever level.
Yeah,
It's like
and
it's
even
a very
the output, the efficiency
Yeah.
of what you're doing is going to start to have diminishing returns if you don't intentionally just put it on pause and just just get away from it.
yeah.
And it's a weird thing is because I've gotten for a while to where I have a hard time enjoying almost anything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Even video games, and it's to where it's to where it's like and to where I used to play heavily and had a clan and everything, and you have a kid and a family and I'm even before certain life events, I've lost the ability. I haven't lost it, but I've misplaced it. And a couple weeks ago, whenever I think you and Chris are here, but I talked to y'all about some stuff that happened, and he said it, but it's simple. But he's like, hey, I'm about to leave. He's like, seriously, sit there, play a video game, and don't worry and don't try and solve anything. Just sit there. Nothing you can do over the next hour is gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're right. It's like I can sit there and I could think, oh man, I have to pay rent. I have this, or I have any kind of crazy thing that I have to try and figure out. And I've been obsessed with it for 24 hours a day for how many days, in a row, to where, hold on, if I just for a couple hours, knowing that exists, and I've been doing everything I can, it's not gonna make a difference in my body, mind, soul, and even just my personality need to just let that go and just actually, and whether it's a video game, whether it's watching a movie fully intense. I'm saying some people can be easily, they're distracted by these things, but if you're the kind of person to where you're not distracted by them, you might have them on, but actually sitting there and just letting go of your reality for a brief amount of time, and just mental and emotional, spiritual benefit of, and it all comes back to just what you were saying, the whole meditation, just the static, and static can be defined as any number of things, but it's so important for our health.
The static to me, all that was pretty much exactly what I was trying to convey. You did as an excellent job of pretty much saying what I meant. And what I mean by static is just that it's like you have your own static inside your head of like, okay, I got to do this and I have to do that and I need to manage my time and I need to go do that and I have to do this and blah, blah, blah. And we'll also, balancing what, your future is and all these decisions that, while they're all important to an extent, you need to do them, right? But then also there's like, you also need to question how much, these other things are, how much you really need to do some of these things. And if you're just trapping yourself in a cycle or getting caught in a trap where, also too, it's like the static as well is the static of other people, of life around you, of seeing that, okay, because whether you like it or not, everybody wants to fit in, and it's like nobody wants to stick out negatively, and so everybody does the best they can to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And, it's like,
and it's fascinating because static can be like,
that's static.
It can be, in for like
comparison.
Our static, it can be so crazy because it can be that your static or my static totally different, but they're equally perspective-wise doing the same thing to us.
Same thing.
Our brain is doing the same thing to us.
Doesn't matter what that is.
Yeah.
That
it could be
can
I'm trying to live up to a standard that I don't need to by comparison, or it could be I'm stressing
not
to
good
feed my
enough.
family, or it could be I'm doing these. They could be they could be unnecessary worries. They could be necessary worries.
Yes.
You know,
But at
it's
the end
knowing,
of the day, too, you can't. The thing about it you need to keep in mind, I don't think there's any way of measuring or proving how much our conscious effort or intention really plays a role in the way things play out. How many times, again, with the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Almost like coming back to your trolley thing. It's like there's some situations that we really have no control over, but there's an illusion that we do. And there's an illusion that, like, you know,
no, totally,
we have a say in it, or that we can actually affect some kind of change. And so it's like,
and
that's something you have to
sit
keep
there and do
in
nothing,
mind.
but just when some things happen in life, don't let them destroy you, because that was inevitable. You
exactly.
know?
And it's not, like you said, it doesn't mean do nothing, because you're a human being. You can't just, even with the meditating and stuff, it might feel great and you're sitting there and you're in a great state. You can't just sit here and be a lump. It's not a human. You have to take that forward, take that state of mind forward, and try and be that change you want to see in the world and help positively affect people around you.
Yeah.
And, you know, not just go off into the woods and just to keep your peace.
Exactly.
It's like, so either way, that's my recommendation. Find some kind of little meditative practice. That was a fucking 14-minute one.
Yeah. My recommendation is hug a baby. If there's
Your
one
baby,
that you know,
or somebody that not
in
a
a good safe, if you have this situation and it's welcomed and there's nothing untoward about the situation,
you're not just at a park
don't go
trying to
grabbing
pick
a
a
random
baby up.
If you have a niece or nephew or a close friend that has a baby and you
hold
haven't
your
visited
child.
them, go visit them and actually hold the baby, give it a hug, and just, you know, I think it will benefit you in ways you didn't expect.
I picked your little baby up when I got her. She's
She's a heavy girl.
not quite little.
I know.
She's small, but she's not
That's
little.
what you know, family members, they want to pick her. It's like, I know she's pretty heavy. Like she's just large.
Squat.
Like, she's
you're
just
like
tall,
you're like bend down now.
Yeah, she's
Use
a
your
little
legs.
over a year, but she might as well be a year and a half as far as how like
she's
long and like she's an
gonna be
advanced girl.
6'2".
That's what they said about me. But all that to say, I think it's been a wonderful time, Mikey, and
Be
seeing
seeing
you.
you.